Numbers are everywhere in sports. But at their deepest level, sports aren't about the things that we find on the stat sheet. They're about passion. They're about teamwork. They are about intensity. Most importantly, they're about the impact that we make on other people. Long after the record books are gathering dust in a closet somewhere, we will long remember the impact of the people around us.
The big storyline coming into this year for WJ is Sonnieboy Blanco, the former WJ All-American, takes the reins as head coach of his alma mater. He looks to lead the Presidents to their first PAC title since 2019. With him, he brings on Coach Nick Daza. A very strong showing here for the Presidents in their first home match. Rodriguez with the takedown.
Let's go.
Everybody's got a job.
Everybody
has a job to do. Do your job.
Do your part.
Do your job. Once the whistle blows, all that noise cleans out.
The moment this whole year has led up to, the 2022-2023 PAC Championship, where 3 teams will battle for PAC supremacy. Trevor Manley with the strong takedown. Reaping with the pin. Zerby working to get position, and he's got 2 for the Presidents. We are nearing a crucial spot here in the championship as Hunter Swedish looks to come up big for the Presidents. Swedish taking control now, and another 2 points added to the Presidents' total. Rodriguez working to get position here, and he's got him, another big takedown by the freshman. In their first year at the helm, Coach Sonny Blanco and Nick Daza lead the Presidents back to the top of the PAC.
Hey, go back. Hey, chill on me, chill on me. I got swim trunks on. Yeah, we gotta get the distance. That's what I need. Pass out. I want to do something different this year. What? I want to do something different this year. I want to do something in the winter, and then I want to do something different. Do something before season. Oh yeah. Can I get house?
Nah, I'm not doing all that.
You got me out here toasting bread?
I'll toast the bread. Probably a little too late for that.
Y'all will live. Put all that stuff, put that stuff in the pepper last. It'll burn. We're putting salt right now. That's all I cooked for this guy. Hit a pose. Hey! I caught backboard on that. You heard that, right? Yeah, how do we only get 3? He's about to buy. Come on, Blonde Shanks. Oh! I was right there. Oh my God! Take care!
Describe the Coach Blanco, Coach Daza coaching duo in one word. What would you use?
Whew. Explosive.
I think today showed you guys where you're at in terms of conditioning, right? For those of you that don't feel too confident or too good about how you felt today, you can only go up from here, right?
Yeah, Perry definitely did work hard.
Me?
Presidents on 3. 1, 2, 3. Presidents.
It was awesome, man. It was everything I thought it was going to be as far as the level of work ethic and the guys pushing themselves, you know?
Coach, I don't see a lot of coaches in sports practicing with their athletes.
It's the type of leadership we believe in, you know what I'm saying? Lead from the front. I don't believe in telling my guys to do something I wouldn't do myself. I was wearing my dad's dress shoes, I was a little kid, you know, probably 1 or 2 years old. And there's a picture that my mom has of me wearing his dress shoes, but I still vividly remember it. But it's funny because that's one of the only memories I have of living in Colombia before I came and grew up here in the US. I was 3.5 years old, so it was definitely a decision that my parents had to make. They were kind of in a situation where, you know, my dad was a pastor at the time. I don't know the details of it too much, but I guess there were certain disagreements within the internal people of the church. And my dad ended up on the receiving end of certain things where he was just yeah, it's not really safe for us to be here. So I was born in 1998. I came here when I was 3. So about 2001, I think we came here in February. When I first came to the US, I was living in Miami. So I was around a lot of other Hispanic people. And so I didn't really learn English those first couple years that I was in Miami because everyone there speaks Spanish. So it wasn't until I moved to New Jersey 2 years later, when I was 5 or 6, that I was oh wait, I don't actually speak English, you know? And so that was kind of a wake-up call because, I said, in Miami, if I talk to the teacher in Spanish, they know what I'm saying because half the classroom speaks Spanish. So that was when I really had to make the adjustment and be oh, now I have to really learn the language. And it's funny because I couldn't tell you how I learned English. It was just something that I picked up. I mean, the struggle is really just feeling like an outsider, you know, like when I first got to, I remember it was Weston Elementary School in Manville, New Jersey. That's where I first kind of like realized that my English wasn't that good. And I remember there was one day in class where I was trying to tell the teacher that I needed scissors, and I didn't know how to say scissors. And I literally got, like, I was a little kid, so I got so overwhelmed I just started crying because I couldn't put it together. I didn't know how to say it in English. So that's like a memory that I have really vividly. And after that experience, they paired me up with this kid who was also Hispanic, like his parents spoke Spanish and stuff like that. And he was supposed to teach me English. But instead of him teaching me English, I ended up teaching him Spanish. And so that experience, I think, helped kind of bridge the gap for me and like make that connection between the two languages. And also, it's funny, but I used to watch Dora a lot. Like Dora helped me, like the same way it's supposed to help people learn Spanish, it helped me connect the dots between English and Spanish.
He was kind of an underdog growing up, you know, marginalized in the sense that he wasn't, you know, impoverished, but he was definitely, you know, in the margins because he wasn't, you know, your typical student athlete who had, you know, maybe two parents in his life, you know, in high school. Maybe his mom worked too much, couldn't, you know, necessarily provide certain things for him.
When I moved to the US, my parents were together. And then when we got to New Jersey, they were together for about a year. And then when I was 6 years old, they got divorced. Like things just didn't work out. So I was basically raised by a single mother for like the majority of my childhood. And then I would see my dad like every other weekend, or sometimes in the summertime, like I would go stay with him half the summer, stay the other half of the summer with my mom. So I would say that for me, that experience definitely like shaped me into the person that I am today, because it was hard to deal with, especially as an only child, as someone who was in a very new environment, and also them splitting up like caused me to move around a lot. So from the time I came to America until the time I was in 6th grade, I went to a new school every single year. And so like that experience kind of shaped me in a way, because I was always in a new environment and I was always going to a different school. And so I think looking back on it, I didn't realize it at the time, but my perspective was like, why am I going to try to make friends here if next year I'm just going to move and going to have to start all over again? Like a student writing assignment that I had when I was in like whatever grade I was when my parents got divorced, and I like wrote this thing about like what had happened with like my parents getting into a fight and like me crying, and the teacher like literally like put me into counseling after that experience, you know. So like I was going through it, and I had a lot of like resentment, a lot of anger, and it wasn't until I started putting that into something productive that helped me to release those emotions and turn them into something positive, you know. So for me, it actually started with karate. I started going to this karate like dojo, and I was like learning how to fight. And when I moved the year after that, I tried to find a new place, but they were like, you have to start all over again from white belt, and I didn't want to do that. So my buddy in school, he was a wrestler, and he was like, hey, like you should come out, we have a bring a friend day. And so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I was big into WWE at the time, so when he said wrestling, I'm thinking it's gonna be like tables, ladders, and chairs. And I get there, and I'm wearing my WWE shirt with The Undertaker and Jeff Hardy, and first thing the coach says to me is, he's like, you know, this isn't that type of wrestling, right? I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, I'll still give it a try. You can be like forceful when you're wrestling, but you have to have control. Because if you're just angry and you're just like all over the place and you're not composed, you're gonna make mistakes. And so I think that learning how to take the emotions I felt as a young kid who was lost and felt a lot of anger and like just felt really lonely, and finding a sport where everything was on me, and it was on me to work hard, to, you know, make weight, to find a way to win matches in tough situations, that really helped to transfer those negative emotions into positive ones.
Wrestling is a free sport. All you need is shoes, allegedly. You could probably wrestle barefoot if you wanted to, you know, but you don't need much. You know, you have all the faculties to play the sport. The sport is within the, you know, the brain. and how you can use the brain to use your weapons, for lack of a better term. So that's why I think it's a common man sport. It's because it is a common man sport. There's not a lot of besides shoes, there's nothing you really got to put into it.
I was like definitely above average, but I wasn't like anything crazy. And then in middle school, I gained a little bit of weight. I was eating a lot of McDonald's. I went through a little lazy phase, and I started losing. So I don't think I won a single match in 7th grade. I might have won maybe like 5 matches in middle school tops, like all together. And so that experience, to this day, I think really shaped me into the person that I am, because it taught me accountability, right? So I remember this experience where I think it was in 8th grade. I lost a match and my rec wrestling coach was in the stands and I got pinned. And I remember like just feeling this like I had let him down, And I never wanted to feel that again, because I was like, man, this is the guy that introduced me to this sport and I wouldn't be here without him. And I just felt like I knew I had more to give. And so that summer from 8th grade going into my freshman year of high school, I started, that's when I really got into working out. My mom was a swimmer, a high-level swimmer in Colombia, so she was very much into health and worked out regularly. So she had Insanity, Insanity with Shanti, the DVDs. They're these home workout DVDs. They're super intense. And I started doing that. And I would do 2 workouts a day of that Insanity. And, I didn't have access to a wrestling club or anything like that. I didn't even know wrestling clubs existed, going into high school. So I just did that every single day, twice a day for the whole summer. And when I came into my freshman year, I was in really good shape. And so I went undefeated. I was 12-0 the first half of my freshman year of high school. And that's when I realized hey, if I just work harder than everyone, I will be really good at this, And that transition, that growth of seeing myself go from losing every match to going undefeated, it was just a very eye-opening experience, because I was wow, if I can do this, why can't everyone do it, it's possible. So that was a very eye-opening experience, and it just taught me if I apply that same level of focus and intensity to everything that I do, I'm gonna be successful. I remember feeling there was so much opportunity, I remember, if I take it back, when I was in high school and me and my cousin were watching the NCAA finals, and it was Kyle Dake and David Taylor, and I remember thinking to myself I want to be on that stage one day. And that was the match that for me made me want to wrestle in college, where I was wow, I want to do that one day. And so I remember stepping foot on Muhlenberg's campus and being this is a place that I can see myself succeeding. This is a place where I can see myself growing, not just in a wrestling perspective, but also in my academics and as a person. Honestly, for me as an immigrant, college was always a dream, but I didn't realize how possible it was at the time. It wasn't until even my senior year, where I remember fall of my senior year, I was oh, colleges are starting to reach out to me, I'm getting accepted, I'm applying, but always in the back of my head was this worry of are my parents gonna be able to afford this? Is this even gonna be a possibility? And so when I met the coach that recruited me to Muhlenberg, Coach Lally, he really resonated with me and my parents, because his parents were immigrants from Italy, and so he really understood where we were coming from, and he was able to kind of break down the whole admission process, the financial aid process, into something that was understandable for someone that had never been through that.
One, I connected with his mom, I connected with him, and then the other thing was, we were just going through our tour of the facilities, and Nick kind of broke off and started doing pull-ups, things like that, and just really warmed my heart, because that's exactly what we were looking for at that time, not just somebody that was going to come through and just watch everything happen. He took the time to get a little extra in. When you are first generation American, when you are an immigrant that comes to this country, And the things that you can't see is that there's this level of privilege that's not there as far as, you know, being born into any type of situation, already having a leg up in this country, you know, having people that are tied into a community, whether it's, you know, your school, your church, you know. So for a lot of those types of people, it's a new opportunity. It's a new beginning. There's no help. There's, you know, there's not all these resources that maybe other people might have.
Coil split deadlift. It's basically how you pick up the landmine, but you're just doing deadlifts like this.
Yeah, man, I would say my grandma, just seeing her, seeing how hard she worked, and my Uncle Sam, just my whole family, to be honest with you. And, you know, obviously, I mean, I think that's the easy part, man, when it comes to life. It's like, hey, just try. So, but yeah, I would definitely say my grandma, who definitely instilled that in me. I'll say the earliest, man, you kind of threw me up. I remember coming to America, when we got to America, so the first place we ended up going was Houston, Texas. I know somewhere in Texas, maybe not in Houston, but I remember me and my sister went outside of a play at the park, and we didn't know, you know, park. We took our shirt off, we're running on the swings, we were just like having a lot of fun. But yeah, that would probably be like my first ever memory, because I don't remember Africa at all. Like, my grandma would tell me stories, and I'm just like, what? I did that? Yeah, so it was because they were having a war that was happening when I was born. Yeah, when I was a little younger, there was a big civil war that happened, and it was actually crazy. From the stories I heard, it would be like over the radio they would hear like, oh, the rebels are heading to this camp. So most of Africa, they have like just different towns, but they call it like counties, you know. But yeah, they would be like, hey, they're heading over here. So during that time when the war was happening, they had like a bunch of different camps set up, and people would just pick up their stuff and just move. I honestly don't know that whole too much of the story, but I just know it was a point in time my grandma was like, hey, I'm gonna just take Sonny with me, because I think just traveling, and I was super young too, like I don't think at that time I was walking, so they had to like put me on their back and kind of carry me, you know. So I think giving her, me going to my grandma would have been a little easier, because then my mom could take care of the other three people, I mean, the other three kids. But once we got to New Jersey, to Burlington City, that's when the schooling started. That's when the real culture, me understanding that part started. But yeah, even during those times, yeah, oh, definitely. Because, you know, coming from the urban area and being foreign, the kids didn't really understand it, you know, so they would definitely pick on me. Yeah, I definitely have my fair share. Oh, I mean, we're so close. I call her every Sunday, you know, I try to call. But yeah, our relationship is just unique, because Going back to the struggle, the one that you previously said, I would say that was probably been a big adjustment because I'm trying to get used to the whole American life, and she doesn't, she's a little older, so she doesn't really understand the culture. I'm trying to fit in, so I couldn't really go to her and talk to her about things that were happening, like, hey, kids are picking on me, like she wouldn't understand that, but our relationship is great, she's somebody that I was just able to see, for example, as far as working hard, as far as doing the right thing, as far as taking care of people, because she has a big heart. I mean, anybody that walk into her house, she's feeding them, whether she know them or don't know them, she's gonna treat them like they're one of hers, So to me, I got a chance to see that part of life, So I would say a lot of her characteristic part, I'm able to embody,
I actually put it this way, like my kids' mother, she's from Trinidad. So those are, they like to call those third world countries, but what they are is, though they work hard, like, not that our country don't, but they see our country as an opportunity. Sonny was young when he came here, so an adult had to see the opportunity for him to come here, but he knew the value of being here and the opportunity.
Yeah, interesting, man. Obviously WWE, I was watching WWE as a kid, and I was like, man, I want to try that. I have nobody in my family that ever wrestled, no relation to wrestling at all.
So wrestling was that outlet. See what I'm saying? That outlet to keep him out the streets. Because where he grew up at in New Jersey, that part of New Jersey, he could have easily just went to the streets. And, which a lot of kids do, because we didn't have a lot of money, but wrestling kept him from that.
I knew I wanted to do it. A bunch of my friends, they were doing it. So I asked them, like, oh, where do you guys go? They told me Wilbur Watts High School. I went there. Next thing you know, I'm wrestling. Fun fact, I actually quit my first year coming out because I was losing. So I'm thinking, I'm like, bro, I'm wearing all this tight stuff, I'm losing, I don't like this. Let me go try basketball. And I was awful at basketball just because if people were chasing after me, I would freak out and just throw the ball high. Oh man, a lot. Now that I sit back and I really analyze myself, because that's what I do to learn more about myself, the sport just taught me how to be disciplined when it comes to life.
It's hard, and I think struggling is what makes people strong and develops people. Like you said, it's cutting weight, it's difficult, it's very individual, it's very hard to walk out to the center of a wrestling mat in essentially a leotard and compete, and it's very clear whether you win or lose, and there's really no one to fall back on. So I think that builds strong people.
Yeah, so that was a unique process, man. I knew for a fact I wanted to go to college. So my sophomore year, when I went to RV, Rancover Valley, that's when I was around a real program in the sense that they were really tough. I mean, their room was hot. That was like a legit wrestling town. I'm going there, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this. Let me go on the JV side. But then the one person in front of me just wasn't consistent. So they were like, hey, Sonny, it's time for you to step up. You're going to be that guy.
So we knew a lot of the same people. What was actually funny is when I first saw his name, I said, well, that can't be his first name. That's got to be a nickname or something like that. Yeah, but the biggest thing is, talking to a lot of people that knew him, he's just very raw, very hardworking, and very positive, which, the hardest thing in college, if you get someone that works hard and they have a positive attitude, it's easy to be successful. So.
And I knew right when he walked on campus that he was going to be good. Like, he just had this charisma about him, this drive. You could tell he was going to be a hard worker.
Oh, there was a lot of struggle, man. It would be a lie for me to not say that. I struggled a lot, especially when it came to academic. And I think during that time, I just wasn't I just wasn't confident enough in my academics, to be honest with you. I always thought, not that I was stupid, but like not smart, like the smartest guy that walked in the room, you know. And you don't have to be, but I just wasn't as confident when it came to my education, you know. So, and I didn't realize too how behind I was, you know, compared to most of my peers. So when I got here, it was a wake-up call. Like, man, the last 4 years of high school, I wasn't really learning. Oh my God, did I not realize that? You know, I don't know if it's just I wasn't aware of what it was, but I just knew I was way behind. I struggled here a lot, but I wanted to be here and I wanted to graduate, whether it was going to be at WJ or another school. I was going to find a way to stay and graduate no matter what.
Culture change from where he came from and kind of the resources he had. And I know early on, the school was concerned whether academically he was a fit. But the biggest thing I saw right away is he was willing to do anything to be successful. So he's willing to work on the mat, in the classroom, and just, to fit in and develop as an adult. So I think that was the key, and that's been the key to his success. Is he's willing to put the work in, and by the end of his freshman year, he was a completely different person than when he came here, and just right on the path. And he's someone that just kept growing every single year.
I met Sonnieboy when he was a senior. It was my first year back at W&J. I'd been teaching many moons ago at W&J while I was working on my doctorate, but then I come back. I have my first class, and I'm all excited, and I found some equal, if not more, energy in Sonnieboy as a student in advanced public speaking. And he had some of the most unique speeches I've heard. He just full of energy, full of ideas.
And we got the gear for the guys. Right here, using your hands. One guy is pressuring the other guy with those hands. Don't give him no space to breathe here. Use those hands, snap, finish it. Hey, what I'm looking for, right? Come here, Taylor Smith. All I'm looking for, right, is good possession and good hands and moving this guy. As I move him, right, I take my hot hand.
Other guy, good position. I'm driving into him. When I blow the whistle, you're gonna drive up. This bogey part right here, rolling it, turning his wrist away.
Bro, go! Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
This is where we win matches. Good work, good work.
Ready, two, go! Come on.
Wrap him out, all the way up, all the way down. All the way up, all the way down.
Good, baby. Let's go. We got 15. Let's go. Come on. It's doing what it wants. If you want to win, this is the program here. As simple as that. And we will win. Trust me that. I always find a way to win. That's one thing for sure. So senior year was very interesting in college because I would have moments where I freak out, like, oh my God, I need to get my life together. Oh my God, where am I at? Then I would start applying to all these jobs. Then I would do the interviews, and then we'll go well. I'll get offered. I was like, I don't know, or I won't. But it definitely it was a lot of moments like, man, what the hell am I going to do in my life? Because yes, I have a college degree. I'm going to get a college degree, but man, what am I going to do? So I truly wasn't sure. I didn't even think coaching was ever going to be part of my journey, to be honest with you. But I remember we were in a room, and my good friend Dan Palmer, shout out to him. But Dan Palmer told me one day, it was like, yeah, I can see you being a really good coach. And I never thought about it like that. I was just like, whatever, what I mean? I was just like, oh yeah, that would be cool, They didn't play no mind. Then after I graduated, I'm back in New Jersey, applying to a job in the summer, just trying to figure it out. I was very close to working at Enterprise. I did the first interview, second interview, the third one. I met with like the lady with the Enterprise, and I didn't end up getting it, but I went on what's the website? Intermat Wrestling Jobs, and this is the job posting for like coaches, any schools that has any opening for wrestling position, they can post it up there. So I saw Muhlenberg pop up, and I'm like, no, let me just apply to this. They didn't think of it. I apply. I sent my resume, sent my cover letter. Then next thing you know, I went on their website. Something told me to go on their website. I was like, no, let me go on their website and just see the roster. So I went on the roster. I saw somebody that I knew there that I wrestled with when he was when we were all in high school. He was probably like a freshman. I was leaving high school at that time. So he told, I saw him, Cam. I was like, I reached out to him like, hey Cam, I just applied to your college to be a wrestling coach. Talk to your coach. And the coach saw my resume, and he even told me, he was like, yo, you were like the missing piece that we were missing, you know? So when I got there, I started coaching. I fell in love with it. I knew right away, this is what God wanted me to do. This is what is for me. This is my purpose in life. I just knew coaching was for me, man.
Somebody that, you know, was going to help the program take the next step. But I had like 12 different applicants. You know, I was very connected with a lot of other coaches, and, you know, other coaches were telling me, hey, I got a young guy for you. And they were great candidates, but it was specifically, I wanted Sonnieboy. Like I wanted him for our program. I felt like in every single area that I looked for what we were trying to do, he checked all those boxes. And then his story. I mean, how could you not fall in love with that story? And I think that that's ultimately where I said, you know, this is why I want to go after this guy. And we did everything to make it happen and do that. It was actually one of my happiest moments in coaching, because I knew that once we had him, it was going to allow us to really start building the program to the next direction.
Sean Lowry, who became my mentor for a little bit, he was so, I mean, just being around him, his character was so unique. You could tell he was just a different type of person, you know, real special. You know, you've been around people, you just know when you're special, you know. So I got a chance to sit back and just analyze what he was doing, the language he was, when he would do visits, how the character, you know, his personality would show. So I'm sitting back observing like, okay, that's how you do it, that's how you do it. And I'm one of those people, I just needed one time to see it. So once I got a chance to see, okay, he's walking the kids here, when he stops here, he talks about this, he had, you know, the whole, once again, going back to a pattern.
While learning from Coach Lally at Muhlenberg, Sonny would make another important connection to a freshman wrestler named Nick Daza.
Oh man, I thought he was just like me. I'm like, well, he's foreign, he works hard, he's a great young person. Man, this is somebody I need to hang out with. Like, yo, bro, you better be my little bro. Like, we're gonna kick it, you know? I even gave him his first internship during that time, because I'm like, hey, because he was, man, we'll just wrestle all the time, and I'm like, yo, do you just want to be my intern and just kind of help me out? So he's like, sure. So we ended up putting that together. Then we kept a relationship even after I left. Then when I was done with graduate school, I came back to Jersey. I hit him up like, hey, come meet up with me, man. Let's wrestle at this bar. Then come back to my place and kick it and hang out for a little bit. I said, all right, we can do that. Then I remember we're in my backyard, and I told him like, hey man, I done my master and I'm applying to head coaching places. I don't know if I'm gonna get it, but if I do, whenever that happens, I'm gonna call you. You're gonna be my assistant if that's something you want to do.
The way that it happened was probably as perfect as it can get. It was a friendship, but it was also a relationship like a brother, big brother, little brother type thing. So I think that the way that it worked out actually worked out perfect.
So that's whole thing been crazy. I 100% did not expect for my first head coaching place to be here. And the only reason I say that because with this program, it's very established. You know, they're just not going to let anybody come in and take them over after Perry left. And Coach Perry did a great job with the foundation of this program, you know. But yeah, I was at 2 years at Ohio Wesleyan. Then going to my second year, my third year, excuse me, that summer in August, I got the phone call from Perry. Was like, hey, I'm getting ready to leave W&J. I'm gonna go to Sunny Portland. I'm like, Coach, what? Like, what do you mean? You know, I didn't even think about applying at all until he told me, was like, hey, listen, I think you would be a perfect fit for W&J. I'm gonna talk to Scott. I'm gonna talk to everybody and let them know they need to hire you. You're gonna be the next coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good fit. I left right at the end of August. I mean, my last day, I think, was the first day the freshmen showed up. So I think Sonny had been at a couple other schools. So he'd seen liberal arts schools, he'd seen NAIA programs. So he'd had the experience, and I think stepping in, he wasn't as far removed where he knew guys on the team. He knew how the school operated. And, you know, he's young. He's still, you know, doesn't have a ton of experience, but I think he was going to be able to hit the ground running and just have tools you couldn't have unless you spent time at W&J. And, you know, every young coach makes mistakes, but, you know, I knew he was going to work hard. I knew he was going to be passionate. He's someone that loves W&J, and, you know, you're going to be successful if you're passionate and you're excited to go to work every day.
So the connection of W&J, the recommendation from a coach who we had a lot of respect for, and that knows what it takes to be successful at W&J, and then just knowing Sonny himself, and like as I mentioned previously, I think that his work ethic, I knew that what his work ethic was as a student athlete, and I knew he wasn't. I had a really good idea that he didn't lose that as a professional as well, and so he was going to bring that same hard-working approach to his head coach role when he was given that opportunity.
For kids to be able to be coached by somebody they see on the wall, and they see the accomplishments, and he's there in the room with you, that's history.
To have someone like Sonny, who Tommy coached, come in here, and with Sonny's character and with his track record, like, it just made sense. It made perfect sense. You know, he went to W&J, he had a great experience here as a wrestler and as a student athlete. I was super excited. I mean, Sonny was who I wanted all along, and I'm really glad that it worked out for him, because I think he can just continue to build upon what Tommy already built, and it's obvious that he has already, you know, winning the PAC championship last year, and then he brought in a lot of recruits this year, and, you know, and just the work ethic and things like that he brings, or you can't put a price tag on those things. And also too, to be a mentor to these kids and explain to them like what he went through as a student athlete, and, you know, try to steer them in the right direction, and not only make them a better wrestler and a better student, but just a better human being and a better person, and to appreciate things and to realize, hey, you got to work hard to get where you want to be. And I think that he's a great example of that.
That's why I'm not going. Because you cheated on me as a barber.
Alright, we got those. We got this. This is W&J. Yeah, this is the old school W&J. Today, we're gonna have all the guys that are around the same weight wrestling. It's almost like a tournament simulation. So they're gonna weigh in here at 8 o'clock. We'll do a warm up, just like we would any other tournament, and then we'll get some matches going.
You hate weigh-ins? So much, but it's a part of life, so I thug through it.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I got oranges.
That boy ain't coming. He lives in upper class, I think.
Hell no.
Your bone's about to break. You're fragile. Fragile.
Hell no.
Fragile.
I drink my milk still.
sometimes you'll just be chilling in your stance like this, maybe you'll post, and you're just kind of looking at them. You gotta get your hip on it.
Coach Daza, Nick, whatever you may know him as, I know him as my brother. And over the time that I've known him in my life, he's shown up every time I could have ever needed him, to be there for me, to lend a hand, or a shoulder to cry on, or, someone to help carry your burden, or even just someone to listen.
Like, it can't be a coincidence, like we must have been put here for a reason, and just trying to like go back and forth and figuring out like what that reason was. I definitely think, as the years have gone on and we've progressed in our own lives, it's awesome to see how the things we talked about in our dorm room have come to play out in the real world.
We used to sit around in the dorm rooms and philosophize. We would sit around and we would talk about big ideas. We saw everyone else out partying, and we would still go to the party, but we spent most of our time learning between the classes, and we would sit and we would actually discuss the more existential thoughts that I think most people ignore in life. We were curious as to why people ignored those things, and why we would. Creating our ideas of the world and doing research into those ideas, and then coming back with new ideas of what our reality consists of and how we can make it better.
I still remember my freshman year, like telling him, I was like, dude, like I came here to be an All-American, like that was my purpose as far as I could see it back then. And obviously it didn't really happen how I had planned it in terms of like injuries and then COVID, but I still got the answer that I was looking for. And the answer was that I have a purpose, but it's greater than just being an athlete. It's making an impact on other people. And to be completely honest with you, like if I can help somebody else do that has that same drive and that same passion that I have, that makes everything that I went through worth it. I got hurt my junior year, right? And that was like when I was expecting to have a breakout season. I had been training at the RTC over at Lehigh, like getting really high level training and coaching. And coming into that season, I tear my MCL and just like put me out for the majority of the season. Came back, sprained my ankle, and it was just like I was going through it, right? So going into the next year, I talked to my coach and I was like, hey, listen, like I know we can't really do red shirts, but like I want to take a year, just get healthy and focus on competing freestyle because I wanted to wrestle for Columbia. So I took that year and I didn't compete. And then the year after that was basically like a fifth year, right? But because of COVID, we didn't have a season that year. So I was going through it because I just felt so much uncertainty about where I was gonna go with my life. Like my parents, they were always focused on like my academics and like my career, as good parents should. But it's hard to explain to them the passion that I have for this sport because unless you've done it, you really don't understand it. So I'm here in like the spring of my fifth year of college. My parents told me not to stay, and here I am, and we didn't have a season. So I feel like dumb, I'm like, man, like I just wasted a year of my life. I put myself in more debt, and I didn't even get to wrestle. We didn't have a season. So I was kind of like unsure about where to go from that point because I was like, do I just give up on wrestling? Like, is this even worth pursuing anymore? Like, I've sacrificed so much. I've wrestled through injuries. I've cut tons of weight, and I didn't feel like I had something to show for it, At least not what I wanted.
During this time period, Nick would reconnect with his friend Javon and start the charitable organization Sisu Dark Horse.
We were able to establish this organization called Sisu Dark Horse. And Sisu is a beautiful word because it means, it's a Finnish word that means like stoic determination, resoluteness against all odds. It's similar to the word grit, equanimity, And dark horse is similar to the word underdog. And so with his help, we were able to create this organization that would try to help those who have that grit, that sisu, and who are underdogs, similar to our stories, his stories included, where, you know, maybe we felt in the beginning that we had that grit, we had that determination, but maybe we had some barriers to access, and as a result, we were underdogs.
And so we just started working on it together. He was in Michigan at the time, so we would just like Zoom or like talk over the phone, and like we started filing the paperwork, we got it incorporated, we got our 501c3, and the main hope is like we both started wrestling, but we didn't come from wrestling families, right? So we didn't know everything you have to do to be successful the same way that someone who their dad wrestled and their brother wrestled and their uncle wrestled, like they already know the ins and outs of the sport. So connecting people who have that desire to get good at it, but maybe don't have access to the resources and the knowledge, that was really like the main goal behind the organization. And so when I graduated, I was on track to go get my master's from Lehigh. And I was just gonna continue pursuing like political science, which was my major. But halfway through the summer, like going into that fall semester that I would have been at Lehigh, I was just really like debating, like, is this really what I want to do with my life? And I was on track, like I'd already like gotten letters from Lehigh, like they were like sending me like, you know, mail. I had a grad student account and everything. And I went into the guy's office one day and I said, listen, man, because it was like a co-op program. So I was interning for city government, but I was studying at Lehigh at the same time. And right before, probably like 2.5 weeks before classes started, I went into his office and I was just like, hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I'm really grateful for this opportunity, but my heart isn't in this, and like I can't go through with it if this isn't for sure what I want to do with my life. And he was really respectful about it. He was like, man, I completely understand, like I just wish you would have told me that sooner. And it was just kind of like a very emotionally like trying time in my life, because I had no clear direction. Like from the time I came here to the time I went to college, it was always like something that I was working towards, which was going to college. But then I graduated and it was this feeling of, what do I do now? You know, like everything just felt so like such an abrupt ending, where I didn't know where my story was going to go from that point on. And so I kept working, you know, I was still working for the city that was helping me out with my grad school, but just kind of like part-time and trying to figure my life out. And that summer goes by, and in the fall I get a call from Coach Sonny. Of course. So Sonnieboy was my coach my sophomore year, right? So he coached me when I was at Muhlenberg, and we built a really great relationship during that time, just because he was an immigrant, he came from an immigrant background, and so certain things of like our upbringing we really understood without having to like tell one another. It was just like we knew, you know, that we had been through similar situations in life, and he understood like where I was coming from and where I wanted to go to. And for me, he was like a role model to look up to, because he had been there and already done it.
Is they work well together, first of all, you know, and they actually they listen to each other. Sonny's the head coach, but he listens to him, and vice versa. You have to be able to listen. I don't care what your position is, because we can all learn.
But then I gave Coach Daza a call on my way back, because I had to call my landlord as well too, to let him know, hey, by the way, by the end of this week I'm moving out. I'll be coming to Pennsylvania. So yeah.
Absolutely no hesitation. It could have been Alaska, I would have came.
You know, one thing he was like, yo, I'm down, let's go and do it, man. You know, so it was definitely wasn't no hesitation.
I thought the school was in Virginia when he first called me. I'm so serious. Like when he first called me, I thought he said Washington and Lee. So I'm thinking like W&L down in Virginia. But I didn't care where it was, man. Like it was just more so the opportunity. Like I just saw such an opportunity for me to, one, do what I love, but also build something special with someone that I know has that same drive and that same work ethic that I do.
They've definitely positively impacted my life, because it's honestly like they keep checking up on me.
with whatever, school, wrestling, just mental health, physical health, whatever it is, they're always there for me, and it's just positively impacted my life.
I think it's hard for me to express the amount of impact that Coach Blanco, Coach Daza, and really the Washington and Jefferson wrestling program had on me. I think the coaching staff did a really good job of fully investing themselves into me my senior year and really helped me take leaps and bounds, not only as a leader, but as an individual.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And, you know, and they're more importantly, they're just great human beings. They're good people. They genuinely care about, you know, the student athletes. They care about W&J. Obviously, they love the sport of wrestling. I think that it shows like a lot of things. I think it shows that through hard work and dedication, you can get where you want to be, and it's good to set goals. And, you know, sometimes you have to take risk, and, you know, the risk, they're going to pay off as long as you can stay focused and, you know, you're driven and you know what you want to do. And I think that through those two, like the things that they've been through, the things that they've had to overcome, and the things that they're striving to achieve, like it just sets a great precedent for these other kids and our student athletes at W&J to see like, hey, you know what, it's good to have goals, and it's good to have people that surround you and that are gonna be supportive of what you do. And there's also gonna be a lot of speed bumps in the road too, but as long as you have a good support system and people around you and you stay focused and driven, like you can achieve any goal. And I think that that's something that those two definitely have done. So I think it's great for our student athletes to see things like this.
I mean, they don't take anything for granted. I mean, for me, my mom was the same way. She was the first generation over here. So I related a lot to them, and just one, like the passion again, but also the thankfulness. Every day they're just thankful to be able to do what they love, and that's the main thing, just being able to do what you love every day and help us out every day. You could truly see it on them.
Like, I feel like when people think of like Colombia, they think like, oh, like third world country, poverty, blah, blah, blah. Not every part of Colombia is like that, but there are parts where there is extreme poverty and there is very little access to resources. So, like for example, I was telling you yesterday, we went to this beach when we were waiting to get on a boat to go on this like plankton excursion at night where like the plankton would light up in the water as you move. I remember I was walking down there as we were getting ready to go towards the boat, and I seen this kid over by a rock, and he was like squatting down, like playing with something, like playing cards. And as I like shifted my focus to really like see what he had in his hand, I realized he was playing with an empty bottle of alcohol. And that really hit me, because it was like, hey, something as simple as a toy car, like that someone would have here in America, might cost you like $1. You can get at the dollar store, you know? That is something that we can take for granted without knowing that somebody else doesn't have that. And it really hits home for me, because a lot of times I wonder what my life would have been like if I didn't get to come to America, if I didn't get access to the education that I have, the resources that I have. Like, I definitely wouldn't be here, you know? So that's why it's so important for me to always give back, you know, like, because I know what it's like to not have certain things growing up, but even then I know that there's people out there that had even less than I did, you know.
The most important thing when it's all said and done, that my guys have courage, because that's the biggest thing I can teach them and I want them to apply in their life, is courage, because it's a really unique word in my opinion, because I can say, yeah, I want them to have confidence, but confidence is very fake. Anybody can fake it, but not everybody can fake having courage. Not everybody can start something and finish it, you know? So I would want my guys, if whatever, when it's all said and done, to always have courage, to know, hey, this is what I want to do, I'm going to do it. Simple as that.
You can achieve anything you set your mind to. There's no question about that. Once you realize that, though, there comes a choice to use this beautiful, sacred power in all of our hearts to lift others up, or to just exist. And if we all made little decisions each day to lift each other up with our purpose and with our strengths and even in our weakness, the world would be a little bit better of a place with more people like Nick around and Sonny. They're both amazing individuals who we can learn a lot from.